want to talk for a second to you about emergency communications. Ham radio is one of the amateur radio, we call it ham radio, is one of the most affordable hobbies any man or woman, but especially men because our hobbies are expensive, it's one of the most affordable hobbies a man can get into. This radio right here, which will reach any of the repeaters for hundreds of miles around, is $40. That's with an external microphone, with the charging, with the programming cable. And it actually works on two different frequencies, 2 meter and 440, 70 centimeter. Ham radio is very easy to study for. There are several resources on the internet, and I'll put a link in the video description, or several links in the video description about how you can get your ham radio license. Why is it important? Why is communications important? Communications is important from a standpoint of intelligence. When a storm comes through our area here in Central Virginia, I know immediately, a lot of times before emergency services does, what roads are open, what roads are not open. When the windstorm came through, everyone calls it a derecho. I knew what roads I could travel and what roads I couldn't because trees had fallen down on them. I knew this because I had a radio. I had communications. I had the ability to reach out and touch other people and get information with my radio that I wouldn't have otherwise had I not had that. I'd been at the whim of the internet. I'd been at the whim of what power I had to fire that stuff up. Most of you say, why have the internet? Really, do you have your internet router and all the different tools that make your computer connect to the internet hooked up to emergency backup power? Because while you're, and do your internet provider, does your internet provider have that stuff hooked up to it? My guess is maybe, maybe not. But a lot of times what happens in a storm is everyone starts getting on their cell phones, they start using it up, they use up the bandwidth, and then nobody can get out because everybody's trying to get out. With radios, that's not a problem. And the other thing is you come in contact with a really neat group of people whose really life mission is to help their neighbor. People that are in the amateur radio world are there because they want to be a part of emergency response. They want to be there to help other people. The ham radio test is comprised of 35 questions. It's really not that hard. And those 35 questions you need to study for, and you're only going to get one question from each section of the test. So studying is not that difficult. The equipment is cheap, and I highly recommend you get involved in that. Most instances, there's repeaters all over your area. In most localities, there's 6 or 7 repeaters that you can reach from your area. And repeaters basically give you an extended range. So if my range of my radio is only radio to radio 2 miles, I increase that range by hundreds of miles by having access to a repeater. And I can get radios actually that will get longer radio to radio range. I have some in my car. This radio is putting out 2.5 to 5 watts depending on what I want it to do. And the radio in my car can put out 75 watts. So I can of course reach a lot farther distance with the one in my vehicle. So if you've got your food squared away, my next recommendation is go get a radio like this, study for your ham test, and take the test, pass the test, and get plugged in on communications.